let me get my video on here.
And you're
Oh,
under
hi.
you're under no obligation. Like some people that meet with us don't want their cameras on. So we just want to keep it
Oh,
as comfortable for you as possible.
no, I love it. I'm a camera whore. How are you doing?
I'm good. I was nervous because I never
Nervous.
know. Because like I'm an atheist and I hear you're Jesus. And so, this might be the time where I find out it's not
This is
God.
it. You're gonna have an experience. You're gonna be like, oh, I've seen the light. No, I mean I'm a deconstruction atheist Christian friendly Buddhist Jesus, so we're all good. How do I also forgive if I have a lisp? I just got braces yesterday, so trying to learn how to talk around that.
So you don't have a list. If that's an insecurity, you sound great.
Oh, thanks. If you ever have questions for me, I'm an open book as well, so we can just kind of volley back and forth. I know you say you're bad at conversation, but I promise it'll just be like talking to a friend.
But for real, you do not have to use kid gloves. Any question is open. The only thing I'm not into is being called the N-word. And I've been on all kinds of shows recently with all kinds of people. I get misgendered. I mean, my biggest boundary though, like I would leave. That would be the only thing. But we can talk about
Okay, well, you're not gonna have to worry about that with me.
I had to get
I'm
signatures to
only
get
a
on the
quarter black, and I would never use that pass for that.
I had to get signatures to get on the ballot in Mississippi. I heard all kinds of things and saw all
Wow.
kinds. Yeah.
Well,
So
then let's just
those are my
start.
boundaries.
Yeah, I'll honor those. I got it. Welcome, Jasmine. It's not like I can't really introduce it like it's my show because it's not Untracing Trauma. We're totally off script, not talking about trauma today. But we are here with Jasmine, who's running for president. Hi.
Hello.
Hello. So it's very exciting. So, firstly, your pronouns are they, them, correct?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. So I don't know. I haven't done any research into it, but are you the first non-binary candidate?
Yes, I am the first non-binary candidate. I'm also the heaviest candidate we've ever had.
Really?
Yes, is a perk. I weigh more than Roosevelt and with the wheelchair. I'm heavy.
Wow. I would not have even thought of that as like a record to look into, but okay.
Listen, I'm claiming all my I'm taking all my flowers, right? Um,
Yeah,
so, but yes, I would
I
be the
love it.
first. I would be the first person to do that. To be non-binary. But I would also be
Amazing.
like the first pansexual, the first polyamorous person, the first atheist.
Hey, I think that's so crazy too. The fact that we live in a 2023 world and politics is so, I don't like to say religious heavy, but it's obviously one religion. It's so Christian heavy that it's almost a pre-requirement to run for any office that you have to be like, I do it because of God. Or I have God on my side. That's how we're gonna win the campaign.
So,
So I
but
think
I
that's like
have that,
massive kudos.
but that's a slogan, right? You're not Christian if you don't vote Sherman.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Throwing it
I
back.
um I don't know much about the works in the Bible, but it's my understanding that people are supposed to feed people, clothe people, house people. Like there was, like those are the basics. And I think I'm
That's
the
not even
only.
the New Testament. That started in the Old Testament. Like Sodom was destroyed because they didn't take care of their homeless and underfed people. And God didn't like that because they had plenty of food to go around. And they're like, okay, I'm just gonna destroy the city. Bye.
So they told me it was because of butt stuff, which I am pro butt stuff. You can get a pro butt
I
stuff
love
perk.
some butt stuff.
Yeah.
No, it was definitely because of the underfed. There's a verse in Ezekiel 16:49 through 50, and it specifically says, these are the sins of your sister Sodom. She was overfed, over like egregious, and refused to help her poor and needy. And these detestable things were done before me, therefore I destroyed them, as you have seen. Um, and then Jesus repeats it later on. So like it's confirmed multiple times that it's because they didn't take care of their needy, and that's why when the travelers got there and they're trying to like rape them, they were very upset about that because they were the needy in that case. They were visitors. It's all about hospitality and taking care of people.
Okay, wait,
But
wait.
nope.
I
Presidents
just got
don't
a
like
question.
that usually.
You said I could ask you questions.
Oh yeah,
You
go.
said no, because you kind of like you whispered that. Did you say what I think you said? Like people was coming and it was like no, like consent wasn't a thing. Like that happened in the
Oh
Bible.
yeah, in Sodom. Well, that's why you might have heard or thought that it was about butt stuff, is because the angels were sent to the city to test the people of the city to see if they were as unwelcoming as God was seeing. And so when the angels got there, the two visitors were presenting as male. And all the townsfolk, it says every townsman came out and demanded, give us your strangers so we can have sex with them. And Lot was like, no, these are my guests. I'm keeping them inside. Here's my daughters. Because, you know, women didn't have value, but strangers did. So it wasn't
This
about
isn't a
being
pay per
gay.
view. I swear to gosh, I have been on the world of TikTok. And so everybody on TikTok says you're going to hell because you're queer. And this has happened because of Sodom and Gomorrah. I had no idea.
It never mentions homosexuality, it never mentions that it was about sex. And like at the very least, if it wasn't about taking care of strangers and the people who were like needing to eat in the city, it would have been about not raping people. You know, like every townsman trying to go after two men is not gay. That is rape. That is gang rape.
I do I am pro a lot of things, but I think rape is like the one issue that I'm really not for. One of the things that I plan to do when I'm elected is to make sure that every rape kit in America is tested.
There are so many. Okay, wait, we got off track. Let's get back to that.
My bad. I don't know enough about religion, you know, I was like, this is a made for TV movie. Like that don't make And then you was like daughters, and I was really okay, my bad.
Oh man. Oh, okay. I'll send you links when we're done. I have an entire series about Sodom and Gomorrah, but
I guess.
Yeah, people just like sum it up like God hates gays, and it's like that was never mentioned. If you have a town where every man, teenager, and adult shows up to like demand that somebody like show me one town where every man is gay, like that I want to move there because that's
I'm not gonna
impressive.
lie, I would go to that town.
How are they having kids? I want to know. This is amazing.
I would just go to that town because it would be so. Well, that's me being stereotypical, but I think it would be nice. The shops would be good. It would be clean.
Also, when have you ever seen groups of like gay men raging for violence? We're not a violent people. That's not us. That's some cishet man stuff.
Right. I think I would feel safer. Like seriously, yeah. I don't feel too endangered when I walk around, but I'm a large femme presenting person, right? We are not the ones that are usually kidnapped. We might be lured somewhere, but not kidnapped.
That's true. Okay, so back to where I got. So you're running for 2024, correct? When did you decide, like, this is something I want to get into? When did you decide that you were not going like the Senate route? You were like, I'm going for the presidency. What made you come into this?
So Kyle Rittenhouse had just been found not guilty. My grandmother couldn't get into the hospital. She had had a seizure. But because of all the COVID patients, she couldn't get a bed. So she died at my house. So like all of that together, she was a dope person. But all of that together, I was like, under a Republican, under a Democrat, we're not safe. It doesn't, like, you're not safe. Yeah. And I am really big on efficiency. I really like to do things that work. There's no point in me going into the Senate or to Congress and then getting corrupted or becoming a part of the establishment. I'm not a politician. Yeah. What I am is someone that lives in a country that is not serving me. And so it's my responsibility. If you like to lament, you should be willing to put your work in. And I'm old enough to do this. There's no rules that say I shouldn't. And I liked the way that FDR did it, and I'm going to do it the way he did it. We had more growth and more progress for our people by not negotiating with the Senate or the Congress.
So when you say how FDR did it, you mean once he was in office, or is there something I don't know about his campaign?
No. Once he was in office, he wrote 1,076 executive orders. He didn't have to go through the Congress. He didn't have to go through the Senate. He just made it into law, and then Reconstruction was able to get underway.
And the only reason our country, I would argue, survives today is because of the New Deal. Like, without the New Deal, we would have been
but he couldn't
what
get
we're doing now, but 100 years ago, and we would
right.
never have survived this way.
And they were willing to let the people suffer. Like this is
Yeah.
this is the moment. And so logically, but first I was like, is this possible? So me, lawyers that I knew, we got together and it was very possible. And so the same way that current elected officials are using laws from 150 years ago is the same kind of logic and loophole maneuvering we are doing to successfully get on ballots.
Amazing. So what does that process look like? So you have to start on local ballots?
No.
With how did this happen? How did you begin?
So the first thing you do is you file with the Federal Election Commission, and then you turn in some paperwork about what your assets are, who you are, proof that you're a citizen. You do this paperwork. Then you start building your team. Once you get a committee number, then you need a political party. The political party that I am a part of didn't exist yet. So we needed to meet like-minded people who wanted to start a political party. So once I had said I was running for president, I met people who wanted to start a political party. And then that political party is the vehicle with which I can run for office. Because the political party isn't widely known, the primary over and done with. It was me.
You win.
Well, it was me and another candidate, and he was who they selected to run for governor of Alabama. He didn't win, but he did try, right?
Yeah.
And so then there's myself. I'm going to win. Since he lost, he fell in the sword. I've got to be great. But that's how it started. So once you file your committee, and once you have won your primary and you're a real party, you can begin fundraising. You can begin getting on ballots, and that's what we did. It's really not, even without a party. Remember, I don't know how old you are, but a couple years ago when I was younger, a kid was able to get D's nuts on the ballot. And it's not hard. What's happened in our country is to run for president. It's not complicated or hard.
Right.
People have never really tried. People have run to push the Democrats further left or run to push the Republicans further right. But no one has ever been like, I don't want to be one of you. And maybe it takes a non-binary person to see that neither thing is working.
Yeah. Okay, so what is the political party that you helped form? The Unicorn Party?
Dead ass, the Unicorn Party.
Oh, I love it. I'm taking notes.
People love unicorns. My age
I love unicorns.
They were, the horn represented, like if you're into mythology and stuff, the horn was supposed to represent purity. It would purify, toxic situations. And it was the one animal that like women or femme presenting people were like in charge of in mythology. So I feel like even though I'm non-binary, I do kind of like still look like a woman. And I thought it was a really good metaphor for what we were doing, because we're not politicians. We're regular Americans that just want this bullshit to stop.
Yeah.
But we've got the pissed offness of Gen Z, but the violence of millennials. And that's really the Unicorn Party.
I love that. I love the cross section of pissed offness and the violence.
But it's true. Like I mean, because I talk to people and like change is incremental. It took no time for them to turn over Roe versus Wade. It took no time for them to take trans people and put them on the chopping block. They're now in Florida going after the Jewish community. Yes. Literally, that's the next AP class that we have to adjust. So the Democrats are who's in power now. And if that's how you feel safe, then by all means, you vote for the Democrats. The Republicans,
it's not even that, though, I would argue. Sorry to step on that.
No,
but I was just watching yesterday a TikTok report from Muscles in Nursing, and he pointed out that Democrats in Alabama, siding with the Republicans, just voted to kick out of their state Congress party or their state Congress commissions any person who is Hispanic, who is Jewish, who is Black, in addition to the LGBTQ people they've already pushed out. Yeah. So now they're wanting only white people, is what that breaks down to. Only white people to be in their state Congress, and the Democrats voted in favor for that measure. So it's not even just a Republican Democrat thing anymore. It's spreading.
Yeah, it's what I try to describe to people, because again, I'm trying to get people away from right or left, because it's not that.
Yeah.
We have an age issue. We have people who are in power and are afraid of everything that's happening around them. Like technology is scary if you know what I'm saying? Like, and I take it to the simplest form. Like when you were younger, maybe going to the clubs was so exciting, right? But as you get a little bit older, it's loud. Who the fuck are all
It's
these
too much.
people? Where are you? Like, why are you covered in vomit? Like, there's so much of my life now. Back then, that was the thing. 10 o'clock, start getting dressed. You had the energy to consume new shit. You had capacity for more things, right? But as you get older, you have less tolerance, less energy, less, like, your time means more. And what I would encourage people to do, no matter what political party, if you are someone that is tired of not thriving, if you are sick of going to work and then going home and then going maybe to the grocery store and then back to work, then you should vote for someone that is going to make sure you can thrive. We've seen it for 37 years of my life, that under a Democrat and under a Republican, the people are still suffering.
I love that, because it's true. I mean, I don't love the suffering, you know what I mean?
No, I mean, but
I love changing the suffering.
Yeah, I mean, like, Bill Clinton was president when I was a kid. That's a long time that has passed, but nothing has changed. We still have more poor people on the rise. We have eggs being, like, y'all know how much you spend on eggs. You don't need me to tell you eggs are expensive. What you actually need to start demanding from your politicians, because everybody knows what's the right way to say something's wrong. What you should start demanding from your politicians is literally what the fuck they're going to do to fix it.
Yeah.
I know there are people who are like, you can't executive order your way through your whole presidency, but I can. No one has done it, but
why not?
I can. Those are the tools at my disposal. Joe Biden.
People are afraid of playing the game, I think.
Yes.
Like, I mean, there is the game, but the game has become political correctness, political unity, like this false sense of like,
they showed up to a gunfight with a slingshot.
Yes. And the Democrats, like, I am a registered Democrat, don't get me wrong, the Democrats are the worst when it comes to that, because the Republicans at large, and we've seen for the past decade, don't give a fuck about the rules. They throw the rules out the window and they rewrite them, saying, we didn't really mean that. Like, yeah, you can't elect a Supreme Court judge in your last 3 months. We didn't mean that. That was, you all listened to us. But and then the Democrats are sitting there like, well, there's procedures and there's rules, and we should go through at least 8 different meetings to see if we're all on the same page. And in the meantime, Roe is taken down. So it's like, we need to have somebody who's like, fuck your rules. Fuck your decorum, because it's not even against the rules. It's just decorum for decorum's sake. No.
Merrick Garland could have been on the Supreme Court if Obama had just appointed him while they were on recess. Yeah. You don't have to play. Like, I can tell y'all right now, a vote for Sherman is not a vote for the high road. A vote for Sherman is a vote for revenge.
Oh, okay.
Like, no, seriously.
I like it.
How many people are still paying for utility bills in 2023? We have multiple types of consumable, free, renewable energy that we could be using and doing things. Yep. Why are we not doing that? Joe Biden just approved the Willow Project. For as much as we still want to talk about the life under Trump or the threat of Trump, your life right now is in the hands of Joseph Biden.
Yeah, we all repeat, like, everyone knows it and everyone feels it. They all say, you know, oh, well, I voted for the lesser of two evils. Or there's a meme of like, oh my God, they're making me vote for Joe Biden again. So like, people know they don't want this, and yet they feel trapped. So I would like, if you could, just speak to that a little bit more. I mean, you're already doing it, but like, give a message to the people of how they don't have to be trapped in this decision of two-party candidates.
You literally don't. Anybody who is listening to this recording or watching this can later go to the interwebs and look up how much you need for the Electoral College, because that's everyone's first argument. What about the Electoral College? What about it when you add in the National Interstate Voter Compact, where these are states that have said since Hillary lost, they would no longer be using their Electoral College votes outside of the 1-for-1 popular vote. So there's a bunch of states that have already signed on to that.
Really? Okay, what was the name of that one more time?
Yeah, National Interstate Voter Compact.
Okay. And I'm assuming, is that something that we as a people, if our state hasn't signed that, is that something
you
we
should be making them? Yes. If you want the popular vote to matter, yes. But if you get enough states to sign on, it's ratified law anyway.
Right.
So last I checked, we're only a few states away.
Really?
So that's one of the things that has been in the works since Hillary lost.
Mm-hmm.
So people have already been doing that. The Green Party has made it much easier for independent candidates to get on the ballot. Them wanting Donald Trump to have an option if he does not win the Republican nomination is another reason it has been so easy for an independent to get on the ballots now.
Interesting. I didn't even think about that because I think they're just gonna, at this point, hand him the nomination. But if he didn't, he was obviously he's still gonna run. So that's a good point.
Right.
And he has the money to make sure that people are like, let's open up the doors for
So
independence.
I want you guys to know it's only $300,000 to run for president.
Oh yeah. No, I mean he had the money. He had the money to sway some people in the state courts.
But people always tell me, well, it costs billions of dollars. It doesn't. What you're talking about is rich people wasting poor people's money. And that happens with ease. But somebody who goes, do we need to do a gala that feeds 100 people for $10,000 dinner plates? Or do we have a barbecue, feed everybody for $10,000 and then use that money for the community?
Yeah.
Right. So my getting elected is a lot easier. Another thing that people need to understand, you've been thinking about things in the binary. How many votes what's the amount of electoral college that you need if 3 people are running? You only need 30.
So it's 265 for 2, right?
But you only need
so for 3%
for 3 people. That's it.
How much is it?
33%.
Well, 30%. How many votes is that though? I can't do the math.
270 divided by 3 is 90.
Well, it would be 500 divided by 3, right?
Wait, let me check.
Like 130 something. 130? About 133?
I know it in percentages because I have math people. I don't have but it is. We only need 33% to win now.
Yeah.
It changes what the threshold is to even compete. One of the things that's going to bother me, and let me get you the real number though. It's going to bother me. And that's why I'm that kind of person running for president.
You don't have to do all the math yourself when you're in the office. It's okay.
No, it's true. You're right. It's 538. There you go.
538
divided by 3 is 179.3.
Okay. That's the goal. We'll keep this in mind. So when people, because this is the most interesting part, I think, is the fact that you do want to frame a presidency after FDR. Because I mean, how amazing would it have been if was it Truman who wanted to come in with the second New Deal? And everything that we've been demanding for the past 10 years, especially as Gen Z has come of age, with reduced work week, universal basic income, Medicare for all, just like any kind of basic human right, really, was in the second New Deal that was never actually pushed for. Like it was proposed as like, let's maybe do this, and then backed way off because of oil companies.
And see, and that's the thing. I'm not going to have us relying on oil or fossil fuels at all. So I'm not beholden to them. My platform, because that's the thing. I've been talking a whole bunch of time and I never told you what my platform is.
Yes, please tell me. I was like, I heard you say that earlier about energy, and I was like, oh, I want to dive on that. And I totally got distracted.
No,
Go.
I mean, I've taken us around the world. I'm so sorry. No, so my platform though is guaranteed housing. So that's no rent, no mortgage. If you're someone that already owns your home, using eminent domain laws for your area, we will be buying your home and then giving you that money back, and you get to remain in your home. When you're ready to move, you would use an app like Zillow or Airbnb and pick the next house in whatever state around the US that you wanted to move to. When you move to that house, you're required to stay there for 6 months unless a domestic violence situation breaks out or a natural disaster occurs. And when 6 months is up, if you want to move, you can move again. If you never want to move, you can die there and you get your repairs through Armed Corps engineers. If you are someone that rents, this is no different for you. When you're ready to move, you fucking move. You won't pay anything. So that's how we decommodify housing. By doing that, it allows us to return the land back to the indigenous communities that owned this when it was Turtle Island.
Yes. Okay.
So we fix a couple of sins right off the top. The next thing is we will be providing people with universal basic income. So I'm hoping that you don't have to work in my economy. Ideally, I believe that work should be done and limited to 20 hours per week. We have technology. There's no reason in this day and age that we are producing more for the same amount of time suck. That doesn't math to me.
It
So
doesn't math.
so with you not having to pay a rent or not having to pay a mortgage or not having to pay utilities, because we're converting those as well, those are covered. Anything that you need to live on your worst day, you've been dumped, your dog ran away from home, you found out, like all the terrible things, your shirt has been ripped all day, we've been seeing your butt because everything has gone wrong.
Yeah.
But you would have a warm place to sleep or an
Yeah.
air-conditioned place to sleep, food to eat when you get there. And I mean good quality food. I actually would be instituting some of those bans on some of the toxic chemicals that other countries have already taken out of our food. So you would
We
have
have what, 6 banned ingredients, whereas like just Britain has something like 380 something.
Right.
I don't have the numbers off me, don't quote, but like we have like 6 because our FDA is so freaking stupid.
Right. So we would be taking all of those and getting rid of it. We would even be changing the way that we process agriculture here and everything like that. So those are things that we would be addressing, which makes food costs cheaper, which means that we would be able to afford. We are currently working on a policy. It's not done yet, but I want to be able to feed all American citizens the same way Instacart would work.
Oh, interesting. So utilizing technology to democratize resources.
Yeah, anything like now you still have to pay for your Ferraris, your cell phones, but you wouldn't have to pay for anything that had to do with your body or a basic human right. So no utilities, including internet, no housing, free education, and a Montessori education. Education isn't useful if it's not good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So all of our teachers need raises. So that's another thing that we'd be instituting right away. And every single policy that you've heard me talk about, except for the agriculture and the food policy, is on my website with an option. If you are busy or you have ADD or you don't fucking like to read, there's an option where a person pops up with the audiobook link and she reads it to you.
Oh, I love that. Accessibility.
Right.
What is the website, since we're right here while you mentioned that?
So there's a couple different domains. So my name is Jasmine Sherman. There's jasminesherman.com. There's fatsocialist.com. There's fatblacksocialist.com. And then there's Jasmine Sherman 2024. So it's really about what is going to make you remember.
I love that. So as you mentioned that, so would you consider yourself full on socialist, or are you in the branding game of democratic socialist?
Oh, my socialism has nothing to do with what an American can comprehend. I'm socialist.
That's what I was looking for.
I'm socialist in the vein of Pan-African socialism. I believe that the whole village should be how we function, right? I know there are people who are like, socialist workers need to control the means of production. I don't give a fuck about none of that shit. That's not what I'm here to do.
You're here to provide
the basics and get out the way. I just happen to be a socialist. I happen to be all these things and happen to be the person that's like, let's just wrap this shit up. We got to keep it going. I don't feel like the labels help anybody at all. But I am still a socialist, completely. So like that would have been something that came out when Fox News was like, this this person is running and they're fat and they're black and they're socialist. And so we
you just own it. Like, yes,
right. That's really what it was. We even have a campaign OnlyFans just to own it.
Got it. I love that.
Sex work. Yeah, we support sex work.
So back to the energy of things. So I find this fascinating just because I like relating to things I've seen in the past week. So Cleo Abrams on her YouTube show, Huge If True, just released an episode about nuclear waste renewal. And I did not realize it was a thing. So apparently in the 60s, they invented a way to take nuclear waste, uranium.
I know what you mean, though.
Radioactivate it so that they can continuously feed it into a nuclear generator. So right now we have apparently enough nuclear waste pallets sitting above ground in silos that'll only last for about 150 years because metal degrades. We have enough nuclear waste pallets sitting there to run the entire country's energy and gas needs for the next 200 years.
Yes.
And we're not doing it.
Right.
We're not reusing this, which would also decrease the radioactivity of them.
Yes.
Because they will be reused until they're no longer radioactive. Whereas right now, those above ground things, if they break or break down, they're going to be radioactive for 200,000 years.
Yeah. No, so I want you to
know. Why
are
we not using that?
Our government wants to put some of it in the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The fight right now is, where do we store the waste? Underground, in the water? Are we going to blow it up with nukes, shoot it into space?
We
But in
should just
reality, we could
reuse the
reuse it.
energy. We should just reuse it. Like, it's like we could just reuse it, but the money isn't in the reusing. So here's the problem. To reuse it, we would have to upgrade all our nuclear
We
facilities.
need infrastructure.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was smiling because we actually have a plan in my infrastructure policy to reuse the nuclear waste. We already plan to do that.
Good. That's what I wanted to hear.
Also plan to not rely on any more fossil fuels. So cars that currently run on gas, we would switch to hemp, right? Allowing, so places like Alabama that's got tons of space and farmland and not a lot of people would grow the hemp. That's how we put people in Alabama back to work. We want to have a train that goes from east to west coast. A lot of people with disabilities are mistreated because they're not in mixed walkable neighborhoods. They're not, they don't. So one of the biggest things we have to do with our infrastructure is get off of fossil fuels. Everything we have the ability, and it's also in my plan, to make sure every housing domicile has either wind technology or solar technology applied to it to help power the house. Atmospheric pressure generators, because our water isn't clean and we need to stop you from using that dirty water. Plus, putting fluoride in it is killing people's teeth. So that's the best thing that we're going to do at the same time, because we would not need as much nuclear as well. So combining all of those things, stop using the fossil fuels, switch to hemp, putting the generators at everyone's home, that's going to remove a lot of the moisture that's already in our atmosphere that's hurting us already. Planting trees that are not male trees will help us. They didn't plant them because they didn't want them to produce fruit. We are not going to be that society. I would rather you live in America where you're hungry and you can walk by and pick up an apple. And
I have never understood that. And somebody tried to explain it to me once. I asked the question, I think again on TikTok, because that's where I live. I asked that question because I was like, why every street that has trees, why is every tree not a fruit tree? Like, it does not make logical sense to me. Every tree that's planted for vanity should be producing. But you're like, well, it's a water thing, it takes too much water and it can ruin the ground table. I'm like, that sounds like bull.
That's not it. That's not it, because a tree is a tree. A tree needs water the same way does. It's capitalism. Why would you buy food if you can eat food for free?
I know it.
Which
that needs to be the thing.
It does, though, which
they're willing to like take palm trees and ship them over the sea just to plant them in LA just to look cool because someone thought it was a cool idea, like no other benefit. Well, they don't, and they didn't even use the coconut palm trees. They just used the non-producing ones.
Right. But that's capitalism, right? And so before anybody's like, oh, see, here they are. I'm not anti-capitalist. None of my policies are anti-capitalist, but we have to acknowledge the reason you don't have free food is because somebody wants you to buy food. It is what it is.
Yeah.
We have to protect our environment. The Willow Project happened under Joe Biden, which means if you want a candidate that is going to stop the Willow Project, you either need to vote Sherman or for someone in the Green Party.
Can you go into the Willow Project? Just it's new and I barely know what it is, and I'm pretty politics heavy.
So the Willow Project is going to add, let me double check on the amount of carbons. It is going to add over 25 tons, 200. So what they're doing is the oil drilling off of the pipeline.
That's right.
But the problem is it's 30 miles less from Alaska's slope, but the amount of carbon that is going to put in the air is upwards of like tons. So I want to make sure I get you that number because that's the part that's going to be killing us. And it's only for 576 million barrels of oil over 30 years. But it puts out 239 million metric tons of waste, of carbon dioxide.
I don't like it.
That's 1.7 million driving.
And I feel like it's not like it's hearsay, but I feel like it's prepping for a disaster in the way of like, oh no, the drills just flooded all of Alaska. What are we gonna do? But like, I feel like it's pre-planned ineptitude. I have no proof.
Well, no, I mean,
like, it feels suspicious.
More suspicious because Alaska needs the people who live in Alaska need $4.5 billion to relocate their land, their artifacts and their population, because we have a part of the island we have a part that's sinking because polar ice caps are melting.
Yeah.
So Joe Biden, fully aware, recently did a budget, right? And my issue is he gave them 23 million. They need 4.5 billion. Like they need money. Like
23 million is gonna relocate just like Sarah Palin's house. That's
she got on grandkids, probably not even that. Like we have a real problem. And so when people talk to me about how they want progress, they want safety, you're not going to get it with people who are older. The analogy that I was trying to bring up earlier that I didn't get there is that like it's like being in a car. Our parents are in the passenger seat of the front and our grandparents are behind the wheel. And our parents are so paralyzed by their trauma that they are not brave enough to lean over the wheel and save us. But we are in the back seat directly behind our grandparents, able to see we are heading off of a cliff and trying to lean over the front seat and grab the wheel.
Yeah.
That's the situation.
That's how it feels. I agree with this.
We are the adults now. Like for people who are like, well, such and such is going to get elected and they're going to handle it. They're not. I woke up and I realized I'm going to be 40.
Yeah. How weird is that? It does still feel like we're like in this delayed infantile state. You know what I mean? Like JFK was what, 37?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, we're the grown-ups.
There's nobody coming to save us. There's no So like when people are like, you should wait your turn, wait the fuck for what? I'm a grown-up. Everybody in this country has always said you can be whatever you want to be when you grow up. Well, damn it, I grew up and it's time for me to be the bitch that fixes this for one term. I'm not a politician. I'm not giving you guys more than one term because people always are like, well, if you only do one term, how are you? No,
you're not here to keep your job. You're here to change shit and show a different way. Yeah.
I'm here to provide you with an age cap and term limits for your all branches of government.
Oh, thank God. What would your age cap limit be?
65.
Mine too. Hey, 5. 65, that's what I always tell people. 65. Hell yeah. It's just like it should match retirement. The end. You're retired. Go home. They
set for judges in 1972.
Yeah.
The Senate set it for judges, so it already gave me precedent. So that's the thing that I want most of your listeners or viewers to understand. Everything that I'm talking about is not a brand new idea that I had. It is a culmination of successful endeavors taken on by past leaders.
Yeah, I love that. So what is the road to 2024? What is your game plan outside of like, doing grassroots events? What is your game plan to get in front of people? What's your game plan to get these votes rolling? How do we help? What do we do?
People are going to talk. So we have to acknowledge what America does to people who look like me, that speak like me. My goal is not to be too much in the public eye because, they shoot people, right? So I'm not trying to raise a bunch of money to be on mainstream TV. I don't need to do that. We all knew Will Smith slapped Chris Rock because somebody tweeted about it. We all just need to be talking about it. The Selma bus boycott didn't happen through television. It happened through a phone tree. You know what I'm saying? And that's really how we all need to understand that this is that one time that we all need to get together. I don't need to be on the news. I just need to be on your ballot.
Yeah.
That's it. So if you are able to spread the word verbally, that's what we need you to do. If you talk to someone who's like, oh, I'm mad about the education system. I know a bitch that's going to change the education system and you can see exactly how. I'm mad about the housing crisis. I know a person that's going to stop corporations from being able to buy houses from under people who want a house.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I'm sick of living in a food desert. I know someone that has a plan that's going to get you whole food quality groceries at your front door for $0.00. These are all tangible things that we can do. I just need someone to tell somebody else. I need people who actually want change and not the clout from bitching about the lack of change.
Marianne Williamson. So I was going to say, that's the other thing too, because you mentioned that earlier, saying like, it doesn't take $500 million to run. And like you're mentioning, that's because everyone's taking the route of going into commercials, getting on television, making sure that they have their billboard plastered every single 5 seconds on the freeway, making sure that they're talking to the elites and hosting those $10,000 per plate dinners. And the thing that they don't see is our generation doesn't communicate like that. Neither does the generation under us. And like, we don't, how many of us even watch TV regularly? Like, we're not even seeing these ads they're paying for.
Right.
So it's like, now that we are the biggest voting bloc, as long as Gen Z stays registering, it literally only would take a TikTok campaign and they wouldn't even see it coming, because they wouldn't have the ideal of like, oh, that's not how you do it.
Exactly. And that's the thing. I'm telling people, let's approach this like our May Day strike. We can start preparing mutual aid, getting the work done. This is the biggest way to organize our protest. I would also advise people, nobody go to work on November 5th, 2024. We all boycott that day.
Ooh, yes. Because why the hell are we working on voting day?
Because, I mean, seriously, like, we need to let people know we understand what it used to be. We understand how y'all used to do things. But if it was going to work, my grandparents, your grandparents, the people who we know really actually fucking went out and tried and gave it their best, they wouldn't be in the financial situations that they're in.
Yeah.
If the American dream worked like it would, the people who are busting their ass every day wouldn't be where they are. So it's a scam, and we should just own it. You got hosed, we got taken advantage of, and it's time for us to take our power back. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I was a victim, and tomorrow I'm going to be a survivor. And the fastest way to survive is to make a change in how you show up.
And I say that all the time, because people are always like, well, I don't want to say it's always been this way thing, but whenever I get into debates with people, especially in like comment sections, they're always like, well, it doesn't work. XYZ won't work. XYZ doesn't work. And I'm like,
we've never tried it.
Is right now working? Because right now is not working. Like, let's talk about gun reform, right? People are like, oh, well, we can't set up sensible gun laws. It just won't work. More people will die. And I'm like, have we tried?
We've never tried.
We've never tried. Right now, it's not working. So how about we try it for 5 years? If it doesn't work in 5 years, say, oh my God, I was wrong. You're so right. But we have to, we're not trying. How can you say it doesn't work?
Exactly. It's like when people go, well, you want to give the government so much control and it doesn't work efficiently. Yeah, your grandparents who don't know how to use a computer are not working your government efficiently. But I don't know why I'm hollering. I'm talking about, but you know what I'm saying? Like, the things that are broken with the government are, one, because of some of the age of government members. Right? We could have more efficiency. Every political candidate should be able to do what I'm doing. Every political candidate, if you have time to make donor calls, you have time to sit for 30 minutes with your constituents or potential constituents.
Right there.
I am the only candidate, and this is where I say we making history. I am the only candidate that I am publicly accessible.
Mm-hmm.
You can come and tell me, bitch, I don't like none of your platform. That's cool. What don't you like about it?
Yeah. I love that.
There's no other candidate, even in your Senate, your congressman, that'll be like, yo, I want to meet with you. Come let me hear it.
Oh, that's so true.
That be the bar.
I've tweeted at my congressperson so many times, and literally they have like 10 likes on their Twitter. And I'm like, you see me. I'm the only reply here.
It's true. That should be the bar. If they don't want to talk to you, who are they talking to? Right. None of the meetings that my team and I have had since we started this are private. Even this meeting, if it wasn't for the fact that you're going to also stream it to another thing, would still be recorded for public viewing. If someone goes, well, what happened?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we're trying to be transparent. Everything.
I think that would be huge, especially, like, I think that should already be a law if somebody is campaigning in general, especially as soon as they become elected. That should all be publicly archived, how they got there. That should already be part of the congressional presidential record. Like, we've seen, like, they're pretty good. They're pretty good at like categorizing every single note and anything that's taken within the presidency. But that law needs to extend to how they got there.
So that's the craziest part. I am one of the most policed political candidates we have out here. I had a social worker. It got so bad with all the bullshit that the Office of Ethics at the government had to change it out. So I went from a Mark to a new person. We don't like Mark. Mark's a piece of shit. So that's why we say Mark's name out loud. Our new person, we're not allowed to say their name right now. That's the thing. So our new person is like, oh, they did you dirty. We weren't allowed to be on Discord. Now, what we are learning about some of this is because we started on Discord. We don't know if that data breach that everybody found out.
Yeah, the Pentagon leak.
Right. We don't know if that's part of the reason they were like, get off Discord. You can't be up here if you're running for office. But we also can't communicate on TikTok in certain ways. Like I can't DM you or anything like that. So there are
well, because they have the government block in, even if they don't have the American block in yet for TikTok. So that makes sense.
So there's a lot of stuff that I can't do. But one of the things that like the really cool perk that we got to see are the first ballot we got on in the United States running for president was Florida's.
Really?
Yeah. And
that's
so
a big first.
It was a big
Start right
first.
there at the main whirlwind.
But what's crazy is the senator that brought the decry of socialism bill to the floor, Florida. That was because of us. And so like there's been a ton of stuff that like people don't know about us, but there's stuff that we're doing that is impacting all of you guys. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
And so like we just need you to tell people, like if you're nervous, right? If you're like, if there's something that you have an issue with in your city, some everything should be ADA compliant. There should be bus shelters at every stop. Every city should be mixed walkable, right?
Yeah.
If there's a complaint, I would challenge people. If there's a complaint, go through your day, write down what the complaint about, and then go to my website and see if there's not a policy rectifying your issue. I bet you $1 there is.
Interesting. So go ahead and look for problems that you want to change in your day-to-day life. Check out Jasmine's website, and then if it's not there, they can contact you because you're accessible. I like it.
Yes. So one of the things I desperately want to hear from is single fathers. I want to hear, because I have tons of perspective on what it's like to raise a parent. Oh my God. I have perspective on that.
Well, no, that too. Yeah, because you had a sick mother.
I'm gentle parenting my parents, but there are people that are single parents, right? We know that they don't have enough support financially, right? So my universal healthcare plan, it covers respite care for parents of all ages, whether the child has special needs or not. So that's a perk. Essentially, everyone now can afford an at-home nanny once your child is born, and it doesn't stop until your child is school age. And then they can go to pre-K. So that's a perk. The other thing is, if you are someone that is like, I am struggling with my dependency, right? We decriminalize all drugs and we put safe use centers in every zip code. We also provide you with universal health care, including dental and vision. We call it universal health care because a lot of people know that term, but it's really just Medicare expanded for everyone, and it covers everything. So if you were like, hey, I'd like you to put a nipple on my forehead, we would pay for that. No questions asked, between you and your doctor. No, I'm serious. If you needed a dorsal fin, I am sick of us limiting how people are supposed to look. If the technology is there to give you a dorsal fin with a nipple, then what the fuck, whose problem is it if we give it to you? Nobody's. Doctor got paid. The person who sold the dorsal fins got paid, and you feel better because you look sexy with your nipple dorsal fin.
I just love your example. That's such a good let's say nonpartisan example, because who's going to argue against dorsal fins?
They're sexy. I mean, but if you're like, but it's bigger things than that. Like gender affirming care is anything that makes you feel more confident. If you're short and you want to add 4 inches, we are covering that surgery.
I mean, good luck on you. That recovery is freaking brutal, but
that's your business.
You go for it.
You have access to cannabis under your universal health care.
Yeah. So I know I touched on it for a second. What would your gun reform look like? What is your steps there? So I think that's probably one of the biggest things that we need to cover.
So we're treating it like a car. It's got to be insured. Every weapon's got to be insured. You have to. So the Second Amendment says a well-trained militia, which means if you want to have a gun, you got to be part of a well-trained militia, which means soldiers get health care, mental and physical. It's not going to be enough to have a gun and you can't use it. You know what I'm saying? If you're out here with titties bigger than mine and you are not a femme presenting person to be part of the well-trained militia, you got to start working out.
Interesting. So you mean physical training, mental training, and just overall health?
Yes, but you also have to insure all of your weapons, every single one, in case you hit them.
Yes. Insurance as well as license then. Okay. I like that. Because so here's the thing. That's what I wanted to really dive into. So you're not anti-gun. You're not anti-gun. You're pro-registration, monitoring.
I'm queer and I'm Black and I move slow. It is not safe for marginalized people not to be protected. I know that the fear right now is that a whole bunch of people who are unsafe are going to hurt everybody. That's not happening. We have statistics to know what community is really doing that damage. We do.
Yeah.
We also know that that community is not held accountable for anything that they do. And so by putting universal health care in everybody's lives, we automatically make mental health care a requirement of school people.
Yeah.
So if you work in the school, if you're a janitor, a lunch lady, a teacher, principal, you are required to go to therapy. If you're a student, you're required to go to therapy, just like math. So we already put that mental health requirement in there.
Yeah. Some people get argued against it. It's not a gun problem. It's a mental health problem. Okay, fix the mental health. Let's go.
Yeah.
Next.
Right. And if you harm more than 3 people, we will put you to death in 365 days.
Interesting. So, this is a new
I support the death penalty. Yeah.
If you're
making we're making everything nice for everybody. You don't have poverty. You don't have to be in a domestic relationship with someone that hurts you. You don't have to be on drugs if you don't want to. You have access to drugs if you do want them. There's no reason anymore for people to want to harm people physically.
Okay, so here's where I'm caught up, because like I differ from you on these 2 points probably, but probably because I'm a radical. I'm crazy. I'm a socialist who's skinny. I'm gonna get my own domain. Because I'm very much like, fuck the weapons. Like, I'm over it. I don't want any weapons anywhere. But I'm a pacifist, like, to my own default. People are like, what if somebody breaks into your house and wants to kill you? I'm like, I guess I'm dead. Like, I'm not somebody to fight back. Like, I will let you punch me in the face because I don't have the time.
But just because someone breaks into your house doesn't mean that they're wanting to kill you. They usually want your shit, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm just saying, like, in terms of, like, self-protection and stuff, I'm like, I don't get it. If somebody wants to kill me, that's between them and fucking God or whatever, because like, that sounds fucked up, but that's on them. That's not on me. I'm not the person to want to fight.
But I also support prison abolition, right?
Yeah.
So what I will say is, people will be given multiple opportunities not to lose or fuck up, right? There's no prisons anymore. There's no jail that you're stuck in. That's going away.
Okay.
If you take people's lives, if you kill more than 3 people in one sitting, we have to protect the public from you. You had ample opportunities. I'm not saying that you have to do it, but as president,
I was talking about the gun part. I was talking about guns. But I want them all legal, even for defense. Because
I want to. So let me be clear, right? If you want guaranteed housing, free education, universal health care, right? I can't get on the stage and say nobody's gonna have a gun. You could probably get the next motherfucker behind me to say that, and they could still win. But I have to be able to win my election. And if
pick your battles. It's
not even my battles. I don't believe that it's safe for people who are marginalized not to have weapons.
Well, yeah. You definitely have a different lived experience than I do, for example. And again, like I said, I'm a radical pacifist.
Yeah.
Like, I'm literally Jesus. I can't imagine hurting somebody.
But you don't have to agree with everything a political person says.
Oh, right? And you never will. You'll never agree with another person on this planet 100%, let alone a political stance. So that's totally fine.
I do want to be transparent. You are electing a president. A president's job is sometimes to kill people. So I can't be shy about the murder, right? But I can stop being such an imperialist about American murder, right?
Yeah. Wait, so okay, now I want to dive into the death penalty. So if we're abolishing prisons, which good, because the prison pipeline is insanity and the profit margins on them are what? What would criminal rehabilitation look like for you then? Would there be
restorative justice? And it's already on my website. It's right under, it's in the abolish police policy.
Okay. So would you be taking like the already physical implications of jails and turning them into education centers, or
no, they're going to become places for veterinarians to store animals that are hurt.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
So, okay, then what is the restorative justice? What is in your plan for that?
So everyone has their own house. Like, you can be punished at your home. Like, why am I going to put energy into another place when I can take care of animals there, or have a place that could be for the community? Like, we don't need to do that, right? They can be at home and on punishment. Like, that's all jail is.
Yeah. So would it be punishment in terms of like house arrest, or like, but how would you reform is what I'm looking for? Like, do we send them counselors to their house?
Yeah.
Are we
so
giving
that's
them...
automatic. That's automatic. if you commit an infraction. There's different levels to what you've done, and it's automatic, but it's all restorative justice. I can't tell you what your community is going to decide to do with you because I don't know what you did. If you stole $20 at a time when you have universal basic income, no bills to pay, no utilities, right? Then your community might go, yo, are you a klepto? Do we need to get, you see what I'm saying? So like the reason for the why is what it's going to be.
Right.
As long as we
the treatment will fit the crime instead of the punishment fitting the crime.
Correct.
I like that.
But there's a social worker involved in every aspect, even with the community policing, because we do abolish police as well. So we switch to a more neighborhood watch community policing thing. If you go out to a scene, right, they're automatically going with a social worker to de-escalate.
Yeah.
Automatically. And it's always someone that lives in the community. So it would never be a stranger. It's someone in your zip code.
I like that. Okay. And then there's another thing that you just said that I was like, wait, let's talk about that. No, actually, I think that was it, because I think that kind of actually sums up the death penalty part of it, because if there's not because I've always been anti-death penalty just because of the cost. I know that sounds so stupid, but it is. Like, I'm not
you're right.
pro or against. I'm like, it's expensive.
It is the way that they do it. So we switch to firing squad. We go right back to, we're not trying to be cruel, right? You can't be here anymore.
It's faster, honestly, than chemical death. So.
And we don't put it on, like, if 10 people go out and everybody fires, you don't know who did it. It alleviates a lot of stress. But the goal is to get to a place where we don't have criminals of any kind.
Exactly.
Right? The goal is to actually put a tangible deterrent. Because right now, if you shot a bunch of people, there's a chance you would get to spend your life in a cell on the American's dime, right? Not every case goes to that. And so
that's part of my argument, actually. I don't think death is a deterrent. Like, you look at the people who are mentally unstable enough to try to shoot a child or go to a school and shoot multiple children. They're looking for suicide by cop, So I feel like people who deserve the death penalty would welcome it.
So here's how I've got you on that. We already offer people assisted suicide in a Sherman administration. So if you don't want to be here, 6 months with a therapist to make sure it's not because someone hurt your feelings, and then 6 months wrapping up your affairs and saying goodbye to your loved ones. We are not we want people that are going to be here and thrive.
Yeah.
So if someone wanted to have suicide by cop, they could just go have suicide. They don't need to have.
Well, but they can do that now. Usually they want to cause like as much as as possible before they go out. Because I mean, they could obviously, they have the gun. They could just suicide now, But
I'm saying, like, some people are cowards, right? Like, true. But if you could go into a room and they could just turn on the soft music and you watch a video till you disappear, I think that's a little different, right? Letting people die with dignity, presenting it as a non-stigmatized option.
Oh, that should always be an option. I've never understood why it's illegal. Like, how are you?
Because we need workers. If you could just, like, not to be funny, but if it's wasn't illegal to harm yourself, there would be a lot of dead slaves.
Oh, I turned on my Siri somehow. Turn off Siri.
But
it was like, if you say so. Oh, there you go. Okay.
Just so you know, I didn't hear the Siri.
No, I know you didn't, but like I couldn't hear what you said because all of a sudden Siri was in my headphones. I was like, you just turned it to an Australian man. My Siri is an Australian.
I use Nigel too.
Yes, Nigel.
I do. I use Nigel. But yeah, so I guess what I was trying to say is right now, I get what your line of thought is. Why they, but we don't have it where you can say, hey, I want to die and I don't want anybody, like, so, you know what I'm saying? Now those angry people could just sign up for the 6 months, if the after 6
and God knows what would happen if they've been in therapy since they were kindergartners in the first place. If they were already in school and had 10 years of therapy under the belt, those signs could have been called out 5 years before they even picked up a weapon. So it is one of those things that progressively builds on itself and changes the entire thing. So I get it, because it's hard for me to imagine. Like, again, like I said, I was like against the death penalty, but that's within the framework we currently have. Because I've never been able to get ahead of it enough to have a different set of problems or different sets of outlooks. If we're already starting from this young age and doing this and taking care of people's needs and taking care of their housing, the argument changes entirely.
Right. But we also need to think about something else too. We plan on changing the way we educate children, right? So children right now, when they go to school, I talked about pre-K is covered. We're going to use those critical years to not just teach them colors or the alphabet. We are going to start teaching them critical thinking. We
Thank
want
God.
children. I mean, and I use this example because it's the one game everybody knows. So please be mad if you're going to be mad. Poker. Do you know what skill it takes to play poker?
Yeah.
It's probability, right? So now you've got to learn probability. You have to learn to tell if someone is lying or being deceitful. You have to pay attention. You have to look for patterns, right? Those are the kinds of skill sets. And I'm not trying to like raise many gamblers, but I'm trying to say there are games and different ways we can educate children to learn life skills without putting it in their face like, we're teaching you how to see if someone is misleading you. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Like, especially when they're at an age where they say why, where they ask questions, right? We have to change the way. We can't make more tiny us's, right? We can't sit and produce people that go to class and read books that go, lies my teacher told me, right? Like, we have to completely change our approach. Like, do you ever think about the stuff you learned in school? Like, you learned about Christopher Columbus. You're old enough for me to know you learned about him and the Santa Maria and all that other shit.
Yes.
So, like, think about wasted time on a lesson that didn't occur.
God, that didn't even happen, right?
Then gaslighting. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, all of that stuff that we spend all that time on, we could actually be teaching kids real shit.
You remind me of me. No, because like honestly, like that was the thing. So let me tell you a little bit about my backstory of education. When I was in high school, I was that fuck it, I don't want to be here kid, because I was raised in a very small town for junior high. There's like 100 people, not 100 kids, 100 people in the town. So my class was 13 kids, 7th and 8th grade combined, 13 total. So we were so one-on-one that we were like through education. I got to high school and I'm like, I know all of this. I got to junior year, still knew everything, but I missed something like 380 days of school over 4 years. And I ended up dropping out when I was 17, or testing out when I was 17, because they're like, you obviously don't want to be here, go home. But obviously the police were involved and they picked me up and dropped me off in school, threatened to arrest my parents, all that bull. And the other times I was at school, I was in in-house suspension because
you were never at school.
Because I was never at school. So I was being suspended for not being there, which kept me out of class because, you know, that makes sense. Let's suspend you. And then that hit me, though. It does make sense. Because why? Because my body is a paycheck. And they need to pick me up there because they only get paid if I'm on campus. And so they don't care about my education. They don't care if I'm in class because they'll sit me in a room by myself and hand me books as long as I'm on their property. So they're getting paid. And I was like, wait, so I that revelation hit me, and I liked being an in-house because then I could literally go through an entire book in a week and finish a course that's supposed to be like 6 months of school or whatever, right? And I got all my courses done within a matter of a week. So I always had good grades, whether I was there or not, because I was that kind of student where I just absorb information and spit it at you, because that's how they like it. They like testing just on not what you can think about, but if you can repeat things.
Well, because you're going to go to work to regurgitate what your boss told you.
Exactly.
Like, our education system was made by not an educator, but a businessman who after World War II needed workers, right? And he only gave that because bitches had to go to work because their husbands was fighting a war.
There's a reason why it starts in the morning, why it's an 8-hour workday with a lunch break in the middle. Oh yeah, it's definitely training. But then, so all that revelation hit me, and I started when I was 16. I started a campaign to protest that, and I was going to have a walkout. I got 3 cities involved between the city I lived in, San Francisco, and also I think it was Fresno, who had other chapters of said protest. And we were going to walk out and sit on the lawn for a day, have outside education teachers come in, because the things we were learning, this all started with the AP kids. All the AP kids were the ones who were frustrated with education, because we were learning, sure, we had a couple of high level classes, but everything we were learning was just like busy work. Like you said, bull, nothing that interests us, nothing that was going to help us in a career. So we were going to bring in outside college teachers to teach courses that would be segmented, so you could go to this course if you wanted to, or go to this course if you wanted to, and we would have an entire day on the lawn, so we'd be on property so they couldn't mess with us, but still be given the thing that we want to choose our own teachers and we want to choose our own subjects. Once that actually got rolling, and we were about 2 weeks away from it, is when they invited me to test out. Even though I wasn't 18, they would give me a diploma at 16 and be like, we invite you to not be here anymore.
You are the paycheck that's going to break our other paychecks. Yeah. And so one of the things that we are doing automatically is every classroom, there's going to be a garden. High school math, a garden. Every classroom will have access to fresh vegetables and teach kids about actually working with their hands. We're putting trade programs right back in the high school and not
Yes.
differentiating between you're going to white collar college and you're going to blue collar trade. We're not doing that anymore. Every educational program is open to everybody. So when I say free college, if you want to, you don't have to be pursuing a degree. If you
Right.
just want to take Mandarin,
Yeah.
that is free to you. Like that is how
Yeah.
we have to be, that kind of society.
Absolutely. I love this. I love it so much. So we are over an hour. I don't know where you
You
want to
get
lead
90
off, where you want to
minutes.
go. I get 90? Okay.
You get 90.
Okay.
But no pressure either way. Like I have enjoyed talking to you. Like this is so dope. I feel bad because I'm just like, I'm so excited because what you're talking to me, I haven't answered for, and I'm struggling not to
No, that's great. I love that because, like I said, it'll be natural. We'll just talk. And like I think we agree on so many different things. And I think a lot of people do. Again, our generation has a very unified prospect, even if they don't want it. And I think ironically enough, it comes with critical thinking skills. And the ones I feel that are most abrasive or against like an agenda to help others, or a world where we're like, why are we letting people die because they can't afford healthcare? The only people I see in the millennial and Gen Z generation that really push back on that are the people who are not thinking.
Right.
And when you sit down and you have a conversation with them and like actually walk them through the steps outside of the knee-jerk reaction from their parents, they're like, yeah, that's pretty messed up. I don't want anyone to die from not having a check.
We've found more success meeting, like, so I will explain. We are not going for the typical voter, right? Like if you're a Democrat or Republican, we're not courting you. We're actually courting like regular people. So like we get our signatures at bars, strip clubs, like where real people are at the mall, you know, like we real places. So it's not, it's we've had better success. And we explain to people, this is your one chance, participate in a non-bloody revolution this way.
Ooh, I like the way you frame that. And if it's not coming soon, then it's about to get a bloody revolution. We've all talked about how we're in like halfway through a civil war at the moment. We don't even talk about it.
Jordan was murdered on a subway because he had a mental breakdown. How would you like, could you imagine like on your worst day, we talked about that, right? Your worst day, somebody should have been able to say, you know what? We have social workers in our society. I'm going to call you a social worker. Or the fact that he would have never gotten on the train hungry, right?
Or the fact that if we all had, again, emotional intelligence that was taught to us throughout our schools, any stranger on the subway would have been able to recognize a problem that helped.
Right. And for people that
until someone more trained got there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, you're right. But people are like, well, the soldier had PTSD. If he was that shell shocked, he should have also been able to get help. Like you can't have it both ways.
Oh yeah. And I mean, it's just bizarre to me that people have sat around for so long and watched it happen. Just because, like, I mean, it's not even like it's hidden information. Like we even on a macro level talk about these things, right? Like everyone since the 90s have been like, oh, we don't take care of our vets. Oh, vets always come back with some kind of mental illness, whether it's visible or not. Oh, well, you know, thanks for your service because you risked literally the rest of your mental safety for us in addition to your life. Like these are known things that are just like tropes almost in TV and movies since the 90s, it's more insulting. And we don't fix it.
Here's where it's more insulting. They risked their lives behind bullshit wars.
Oh yeah,
we were the bad guys. Like that's the part that killed me. Like we got people thinking land of the free, home of the brave. We don't do that. We are the invaders. We're the Fire Nation. If you know what anime, like if you watch anime.
I don't watch Avatar, but I do know the reference.
Well, look, you knew what it
was. No, and that's so true. Like when I was a kid, I, like I said, tested out early, went to college before I dropped out of college. But part of being in community college even is that you had to be registered for the draft. As a male, anyone over 18 back in 2008, even under Obama's administration, had to be registered for the draft.
You got that little postcard, right?
I didn't, but it was in the college handbook that I had to sign off on in college rules. And it said that if you were ever found to be at school without being registered for the selective service, not the draft, sorry, selective service, then you would be removed from school, not able to attend any California institutions from there on out, and any credits that you gained have been lost because you were against the law while you were there. And I avoided it. I was like, let them find me. But I moved to LA, dropped out of school, and I was like 19 now, needed a job, going on 20. So the 2010 census was coming up. I tested for the census. They were like, you got like a 99% on the test. Like, it's just a general intelligence test. They're like, but you got the highest score in the room. We want to put you into like not a supervisory position because I was too young actually, but we want to put you on track to be in a supervisory position. We want to hire you. Here's the thing. We went through your background check and you're not registered for the selective service. This is a government position. You're going to have to register for the selective service. I said, let me think about it. And I called my dad and I cried for an hour and a half, and he's a Navy vet. And I just cried and cried. He's like, just sign, like, they're not going to call you. Like, to be honest, you're a little bitch. Okay. And they're like,
you got flat feet.
He's like, you have enough between your like weird IBS issues, and you only weigh 5 pounds. You can't put on weight. Like, you can't hurt anybody. They don't want you. Like, you're already broken. But outside of that, I was just like, I can't in good faith sign up for a war that I don't believe in. I was like, if this was World War II, and even that was some bull, but if this was World War II and I was like, I have to go help my Jewish people because I'm part Jewish, like I would get it. But I'm like, I refuse to sign up for a draft that is just, why are we there? Why are we there? And I ended up signing up anyways because I was convinced that they wouldn't call me, even though it wasn't about them calling me. It was about me playing their game, and I really didn't want to. But I wanted to eat. And the census paid.
And that's the craziest part. Like, why do you want this job? Because I need to eat. Like,
yep.
I feel that.
Yep. So I hope the draft, instead of expanding it, gets just chopped.
So my foreign policy is posted actually already. We would not be engaging in supremacy culture. Like,
good.
We will not be practicing imperialist.
And we won't be needing oil. So half of that gone. Yeah, like, that's the majority of the reason any war starts. Yeah.
Right. So one of the things that I plan to do is renegotiate all of our trade deals with all of our foreign partners.
Okay.
Every single one. And I think that would show that America is ready to come into the 21st century and to chill the fuck out.
That's the other thing. You touched on two things I think are going to be huge and probably avoided in this, at least the next run of 2024. I don't think they're ready to even talk about the topic. I mean, a lot of people woke up during the TikTok hearings where what's his face asked if TikTok connects to the Wi-Fi. And he's like, does it use my home Wi-Fi? Can it access my Wi-Fi from home and other things on my Wi-Fi?
Like, so one of the cool things about yo, but that guy was dead ass. Like, he was
serious. He was for real.
He was serious. Yeah. and so, like, that's part of what's happening with our country, though. Like, we have those people in charge, right? One of the things that I can say about voting Sherman in 2024 is that you will be getting Wi-Fi all across America. So part of what we have to do for our infrastructure, when you drive around right now, if you look at the roads, you can see our wires, our telephone poles, right? Our electricity. That's not safe. All of our stuff should be buried underground. Google Fiber buries it underground. The reason we have to do that is because that's how you protect our infrastructure. Having over-the-road visible wires, that's not
safe.
Look
at California. We burn down every year because a power line catches some forest on fire. I mean, there's natural fires, which is how the forest regenerates, but there's fires that should not be happening because PG&E doesn't touch something for 50 years.
Right. So like, if we just go ahead while we're making everything ADA compliant, go ahead and bury our wires, give Google, not Google Fiber specifically, but give that kind of wiring to everyone across the country. So like Appalachia, I would be bringing you a train, I would be bringing you ADA compliance, and I would be bringing you internet.
Yes. I didn't realize until the COVID pandemic how many people were left without internet. And I didn't know that like school was their only way. If that, there's schools that don't have Wi-Fi. Like, how? I don't know how they operate. But I didn't realize it was not put into the media because like I just assumed everyone has internet, which is kind of dumb because I grew up in the country with a town of 100 people where we didn't have. So I should have known, but I assumed like you don't have internet, you get satellite internet, but that's expensive as hell.
Right.
Yeah, so it definitely needs to be handled. Where I was going with the Wi-Fi question though, is they're not even ready in this generation, well, their generation, I should say. They're not even ready for the conversation that needs to happen now, which is AI. As AI is developing, they're like, oh, we can worry about that in 5 years when it affects us. It needs to be proactive. There is no in 5 years because literally every month it's progressing at a rate of like 4-to-1, which is more exponential than we could have even pictured it, right?
Yeah,
So we need to be
great.
setting up for universal income and mutual aid and food like tomorrow because it's going to happen in 3 or 4 months. People are going to be wiped out of jobs.
I mean, look at the writer strike that's happening, right? Hollywood has decided that they don't need the writers. They're going to use the AI. And that's why I wasn't kidding when I was like, I don't think people should work more than 20 hours a week. We don't have to. The technology is there, right?
Even before AI, we didn't need to. The entire minimum 40-hour work week was always supposed to decrease with productivity. And they locked it in because that was not the vision that was really set up with, just like the Constitution. Ooh, let's talk about the Constitution.
Yeah.
How do you feel about reworking it with every term, with every generation?
So I think it should be every 20 years, just like Jefferson had intended it for it to be. Yeah, so we do every 20 years. But what I'm hoping that the American public does, because that is one of the biggest things that we will be talking about on my road tour, which starts on June 23rd in Kentucky, is that we need to have a new constitution. I can put you in an age cap and I can put you in term limits, but it is going to take you to put you in new elected officials that can have a constitutional convention that's not going to hurt us. Right now, Republicans are gearing up to have a constitutional convention, but it's going to be Republican led.
It's not good. Right.
And so for people who are like, well, the Democrats, we need a Democrat. You are not safe under a Democrat. And that's that false sense of illusion, like that I want people to understand. Like, they're not going to be able to work out for you. You need something new, something dangerous that the other side has not already anticipated their moves.
Yeah. And I think that ties back into, like I was saying, they're not even prepared to have the conversation on AI. So the fact that you're already prepping for these things is what can swoop them out because they're not even ready for what's coming. And I love the idea of getting rid of a new constitution. I really do. When COVID happened and everyone was like at home doing their thing, I was like, now, like, let's burn it down, start from the beginning, rewrite the constitution. Everyone's already at home, fire them. Like, we need to use this downtime to rework everything. And no one did, but I really wanted it to happen.
I don't know that. I think that COVID set forth and allowed for the revolution spark to be ignited. I really do.
That's true. I believe that.
What I love is that I am talking to you. I'm talking to other young people. I'm not going through the mainstream media. It's actually been very cool. Mainly because I have a hard time not saying fuck a lot, but talking to real people who have real audiences with real people that really do matter and really are impacted by this, I learn more about what real people need. And so I am a millennial. I am not a hard worker. I don't see the benefit in laboring. I never have. I'm someone that as soon as I can, I will use my UBI. I will stay by the beach. And my thing might be reading tarot cards. I don't know tarot yet. Clearly I'm not a psychic yet, right? But I think that would be, I would show up as a better citizen.
Yeah.
For people sitting on the beach, comforting strangers, right? Like that.
Everyone would. Doing what you want to do instead of what you're betrothed to do makes you a better family person. It makes you a better citizen and a neighbor because it just does. It's just the obvious way humans are meant to live in a society where you do what you can to help others, but because you want to help others, not trying to feed yourself and being isolated in your little nuclear family.
Yeah.
We're social people. We always have been.
And I think that COVID was a great example of how people that have time will band together and take care of their community. I saw more people because, like, I always talk to conservatives. They're like, we've never been united since 9/11. And I was like, did you watch the same pandemic that I watched? People couldn't leave their houses. People were immunocompromised. I saw strangers feeding strangers. Now, some of them strangers cannot cook.
Drive-by birthdays, just to like.
I mean, seriously, there were more
hello.
parades, more acts of empathy, more willing to listen. And it came from our generation. It came from the generation after us. It even came from some of our parents' generation. The people who were behaving poorly were not us.
Yeah.
So when we hear people talk about being uncaring or selfish or not willing to commit to community, you're not talking about your generation. You're talking about a different generation that unfortunately is still traumatized from living in the Depression.
Yeah, and just in general having to take everything you have and hoard it and hide it. Right. And yeah, it's so, knee-jerk reaction to needing food.
And that's why, but that's why they're selfish. That's why they're only worried about them and their family. Like, that's why they act like that, because it's still in their trauma that they've not.
And lead poisoning. There's also lead poisoning.
Yes, they definitely ate lead, like on purpose. Like, for people that need another example of how Democrats don't have your best interest at heart, Feinstein is 89 years old.
Oh my God. Girl looks like she's about to collapse any moment.
She has dementia. She has Alzheimer's. That bitch needs to sit down, but instead she is signed up to rerun for office. You cannot tell me you care about people when you cannot you selfishly refuse to get off the throne.
And not even her. I don't even think she can make that decision for herself. It's literally whatever Californian establishment has her running, because like there's no way she wants to. Like, she can barely talk. Like, it honestly looks like she just had a stroke.
She could pick up a microphone and go, "Listen, y'all, this ain't it." She's not choosing to do that.
Okay.
Nancy Pelosi, like, I mean, slavery for white women is over, right? They have the ability to say, "No, thank you." The problem is similar to what happened with Dylan
Mulvaney?
Yeah.
Okay.
She could have gave that role or an opportunity to someone else.
What role?
Right?
What are you talking about?
When she took an interview about trans matters.
I don't know about this. Yeah, last thing I was thinking was like Bud Light, but
no, she took an interview because of the Bud Light, right? Oh. And she could have spotlit some of the issues with the trans community
that she obviously doesn't go through because she's a passing white rich lady now.
Right.
In a year.
Correct.
She got famous because of her transness as compared to people who fight every day to just stay alive because of their transness.
Right. And instead of her saying, "You know what, as much as I appreciate that spotlight, I don't, it's not for me." She didn't do that. And that's the same thing with Nancy.
She's been told that multiple times too. She won Trans Woman of the Year in 2022 and people lashed out. She's like, "I didn't even think about denying it. Now I know." And then she turns around.
But that's the point I'm trying to make about Feinstein and Nancy Pelosi. Like,
yeah.
Come on, y'all.
I mean, and to be honest, you think they would have learned after RBJ. Like, God bless her. We love her. But at the same time, she could have stepped down.
Obama asked her to.
When there was a call for her.
He did ask her to, and she said no.
Which is so problematic. And that would go away with term limits and age limits. Because I don't care if I sound ageist. People always come in my comments and yell at me. I have a politics account as well as my JeGaysus account. But people come in there and yell at me whenever I say 65 is the term limits that I would like, or age cap, I'm sorry. They're like, "That's ageist." I'm like, I'm not saying that they can't be advisors. I'm not saying that they can't write a book.
I'm saying
I think they should give their wisdom to the world on a YouTube channel. Like, I'm not saying old people have no value in their lessons. I'm saying I don't want them working. I don't want anyone working after 65, let alone a government person. Exactly. Pilots are forced to retire. Teachers are forced to retire. FBI agents are forced to retire. Policemen are forced. Why? That should be every government person, but also the baggers. Like my grandmother, God bless her, was only retired for 4 years before she came out of retirement because A, she was bored, B, she didn't have enough money, and went to go be a bagger at a grocery store at 72 years old. She was carrying younger women's groceries to their cars to help them with their bags as a slightly disabled 72-year-old with a job that high schoolers usually have for minimum part-time wage. Like, what?
And I'm going to say something that's ugly. I don't think the seniors who go, I'm going back to work because I'm bored. Nah, you're going back to work because it is expensive. Like, we know, like, what I want people to start doing is live your life while you're young enough to enjoy it, right? This whole concept of, we got to work real hard for the first 2/3 of our life. And then maybe if nothing bad happens, I can enjoy it, maybe. And even then, if I don't die, I got to give it, like, why
And
don't
you have to reduce your means of living to like cat food. Yeah.
So why don't we just go ahead and make sure that everyone can live well, no matter what age? We are missing our renaissance.
Yeah.
I'm missing great art, great theater, because the brilliant playwright has to go to work.
Yep. A million bajillion %. It's been a crappy couple generations. And I hope that changes. Especially.
This is why I'm not telling people to take the high road. I'm saying vote for revenge.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, revenge is kind of fun. Like, even if we don't see the change in our lifetime, I would really like to owe it to them and be like, fuck y'all. As long as the next generation comes out, I'm cool.
So
I'm
here's
not
what
selfish
I
like that.
see. I want to see Ted Cruz get kicked out of office because he's over his term limits.
Wait, is he really? How did I not know that?
He would. So hold on. The term limits plan that we would be using is Ted Cruz.
Okay.
So we're using the plan that Ted Cruz.
I thought you meant right now he's overran, and I was like, what?
No. But once you voted Sherman, he would be almost out.
Got it.
We'd be able to get this dead weight out by him, by Marco, by what's that lady's name? I can't think of it. I think I was thinking Kristen Sinema, but she's not who I'm talking about.
No, she's new.
She's new. She's not useful, but like Joe Manchin, he would be someone that you guys could get out, right? Like, so there's all kinds of people. It's really just, this isn't a matter of it's not possible. It's a matter of young generations don't know I'm out here yet. Right. Because everything that I'm saying, after you finish talking to me, you have the internet. You can go see, was this bitch lying? You will see I'm not lying about the executive orders. You will see that for people who are like, well, executive orders can be overturned. They sure can. But if we are going with an age cap and a new Congress and a new Senate, why would you vote for people who are going to overturn them?
Yeah. Also, you can't overturn them all. Have you seen how slow this country moves?
So that's the thing. No, that's the thing. You figured out, but just by talking to me, we are going to overwhelm the court. So we're writing a term limit. I mean, not a term limit. I mean, we're writing an executive order for every policy as its own executive order. So they have to take us to court for each individual item. So my favorite, the age cap, the term limits, the salary, because to be in Congress and the Senate, you are no longer going to get your salary. You would get an index living wage.
Yeah, I like it.
You are not allowed to own any commodities. No. Any commodities that you own are no longer going to be allowed to be in a blind trust. You cannot have it. If your relatives own too many commodities, they can't have it. We are going to make public service unglamorous.
Ooh, here's the one question. Let's actually end it with this question, because now we're at your 90 limits. 90 minutes and limits. You know what I mean?
I barely have 90
What
minutes.
is your Supreme Court look like? Because I know everyone has different Supreme Court ideals.
No. So the Supreme Court would be expanded.
Okay.
And it would look a lot younger because those people would be asked to.
They'd be out.
They'd be out. So
do you have a number for the expansion?
9, nothing crazy.
9? Okay. And then
but we would allow recording and live streaming in the Supreme Court. All public things.
Public offices for transparency.
Right. There is nothing, not everything is national security, damn it. Everything is not national security. If you're doing that much dirty shit, we need to talk about it. So all of those things, all the hearings, all of that is going to be very, very open to the public. Okay. Every vote, like they're about to vote on this, public's going to be notified. Tune in if you're interested.
I mean, their shadow dockets are freaking weird. So people don't even talk about it, obviously, until it happens. And they're like, if we're able to know about it after you voted on it, we probably could be able to know about it before you voted on it.
So
Let's
that's
be
the thing.
real.
We're getting rid of that too. So we are going to start having actual business hours. Senators, you have to be there. You only get paid when you're on the floor doing the American public's work.
Good.
And I
And no
mentioned
more
that they're
special
going-
interests, I'm assuming,
they're
right?
you're not allowed to be lobbyists.
Good.
So like those, and each one of those will be its own executive order.
Yeah.
So when you ask yourself, what are the laws that the Senate and the Congress are going to sue my black ass over first? Is it the laws that help the American public? Or is it the laws that hurt their pocketbook?
Ding, 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 ding. Yeah, they're going to be scrambling to protect themselves. And in the meantime, oops, we have universal healthcare.
But no, seriously.
And then once people have something, they're
never going to
often
let it
not
go.
letting it. Exactly. They're not going to let that slide, especially once they get a taste of what it's like to not use your entire paycheck on food. Incremental change, and people, again, we are almost all in agreement. Like the divide is so small, and people don't, I guess they don't realize it because, again, critical thinking is an issue. But like nobody really wants to fight against the fact that you shouldn't have to pay to die. Like they think they should. They'll go off and repeat what they hear as talking points. But then when you ask them in a different way, the poll numbers are always like 80% in favor of, universal healthcare, 85-90% in favor of gun legislation, like 79%. I'm pulling out numbers, but I think it's 79%-ish are in terms of, age limits and term limits. And like all of these are things that we agree on. This is not really a divided country in the way people think it is.
It's not. It's what I'm excited about is when I win. And I know I'm going to win because I am the only person giving you universal health care. And I tell you how I pay for it. And I eliminate property tax as well. Taxes won't look like they look currently. You would get them 4 times a year because your employer would be doing them for you.
Yes, thank God. We have no reason to do them ourselves.
Because they know how much you owe. Like they just either give me my money or get out the way. So
yeah,
I guess if I could just leave you and your audience with anything, I am the candidate you vote for if you are over it. I am not dropping out because I have won my own primary and I'm not taking the high road. You can count me as a spoiler or whatever, but I'm not dropping out. And so it will be on you to hope that the Democrats bring out their best guns to compete with me, or you will lose.
But like, hopefully don't get shot, please.
So no, I'm
not the best guns, because they will, like you said, take out people who are threats.
Someone's already broken into my home.
Oh shit.
Like, yeah, we've already had swastikas being painted, a break-in, but I have guns. Like, I have no problem popping off. You are a pacifist. I am obese. And so I guess that's what I want to leave people with. This isn't something, I am not going away unless I'm dead. And I believe that every person listening is worth dying for. Because this was the whole fucking point. It's all made up.
I love that energy. It's all made up. Yes, exactly. Since it's all made up, how about we make it what we want it to be? How about that? We don't have to play by the made up game that doesn't work in our favor. Let's just make up the game that works.
Just change it. I'm tired of playing it this way. We're going to flip the table. Didn't Jesus flip a table?
Jesus flipped some tables. Yeah. Over it. Thank you so much for being here. And like you said, if anyone has questions, go look into the policies, go look into any of the executive order past histories, the laws, the things that you've mentioned in this that I don't even know about. Like you said, this is accessible information, not only on your website for policies, but also for the history of different things that you want to implement. And it's attainable if we make it happen. And I think that's the important message that people should definitely break away. So vote for you if you're over it. And if you have any doubts, questions, or concerns, research, critical thinking again. Let's use them and have a conversation finally, instead of just being told which way to go. Conversations force every change that needs to happen, really. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Blah, blah, blah. No, but honestly, thank you. Yes.
No, this was so
I'm glad to
dope.
meet you. And like, we're going to be friends forever.
I hope you come to my inauguration party. It's gonna be lit.
I'll be there.
Like best music, best drugs, best people. Like no uggos allowed. It's gonna be great.
I will be there first in the line. I was gonna say I'd roll up in Kentucky if I could, but like I can't travel.
So where you're in California?
I'm in California. Yeah.
So
next date you're in California, I'll definitely.
Yeah. So we'll be. So we're going to bigger states like California and stuff. closer to 2024. The states where we kind of need to be right now are the red states.
Oh yeah, definitely. California is always the last on the list, and then like in the mainstream political runs, people who always come are always like Los Angeles, and like that's not helping anybody.
Yeah, so I plan to go to different places. I'm not like my first stop is Kentucky. Like,
yeah.
I'm out here looking for fights. Like, and there was one time a fight in an hibachi restaurant in Alabama. So, like, we don't take the high road on this campaign. So just let people know.
I'll be watching and be like, oh.
So we are gearing up for the reality show that's coming out. We already have a podcast. Like, it's just a bunch of shit. It's so much.
I love it. Well, I hope you're the best. I hope you amazing interviews as you move forward. And then, yeah, if you can send me the footage, please do. I'll repost. And
please consider posting on like both your platforms, and we will get this to you either. I think people are off today, so at latest Monday, but I'm sure it'll be out before then.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Bye.